wanna play no games. Fuck around, you might ask me. Okay, everybody watching, ain't nobody talking to me, y'all. I'm by myself. I'm bored. About to go see what San Francisco City talking about. A little tipsy.
'Breaking news on the city's near south side.
IMPD is investigating a person killed. Their body was just found this afternoon.
Tonight we're learning more about a woman allegedly murdered by her Uber driver. In the days since her body was found on Indy's northeast side, IMPD now says they've managed to track down the suspect.
Women, girls, mothers, they have a right to exist freely in our community without fear of something heinous happening to them. They have a right to walk, bike, order a ride share without fearing something bad will happen to them.
"30-year-old Shanti Dixon, affectionately known as TT to family and friends, was the kind of person who left a lasting impression on everyone she met. She was goofy, always laughing, and full of joy, with a caring nature that made her the heart of her circle. Her infectious happiness and dedication were qualities that her loved ones admired deeply. Above everything else, she was a devoted mother, working hard to provide for her children, while also staying focused on her personal goals. In addition to being a loving mother, Shanti was a dancer at a local club and ran an Onlyfans account under the name Safari Red, where she used her creativity and personality to connect with her followers. Recently, Shanti had moved to a new area where she mostly kept to herself, often seen outside with her son and dog. Her family grew increasingly worried after not hearing from her since the weekend, and their concerns deepened when repeated calls to her phone went unanswered. Investigators confirmed that her family had reported her missing on Monday morning as they anxiously searched for answers regarding her sudden and unexplained disappearance. No one could have ever predicted that they would never see or speak to Shanti again. Shortly after 1 p.m. on September 9th, IMPD responded to the 1800 block of Wagner Lane on the city's near southeast side after Shanti's mother and aunt called and reported finding a dead body near a wooded area. Upon arrival to the scene, they would discover the body of a nude adult female.
Right now on Wagner Lane, this is near East Raymond Street and South Sherman Drive.
Karen Campbell joins us there live. Karen, what have you learned?
Hey there, Dustin and Felicia. I mean, first of all, your heart simply goes out to the family and friends who are learning that they lost their loved one here today. You mentioned off Wagner Lane. Now, police are still investigating this scene. They tell us that they found a woman's body in the wood line. They are still investigating back here. Crime scene investigation has arrived to kind of find out, what exactly led up to this woman being found here. Now, police are telling us that someone called 911 around 1 o'clock today. That's when they arrived on scene to find this body. Investigators say the woman, who of course has not yet been identified, she was reported missing by family this morning because family says that they haven't heard from her since this weekend.
The victim was positively identified as 30-year-old Shanti Dixon, who was sadly pronounced dead at the scene after succumbing to multiple gunshot wounds, including a shot to the head. Her own mother and aunt would find her naked, face down, with a sweatshirt above her arms, just feet away from the new home she recently moved into for a fresh start. Determined and deeply concerned for Shanti's safety, her family decided to take matters into their own hands. Rather than waiting for the police to act, they used ping location technology to track down her phone themselves.
Now, police are now canvassing the area, speaking with witnesses to find out how this could have happened.
This is a densely populated area. You know, there are children getting on and off school buses here. There's people leaving for work. You know, children are playing out here as the weather's still nice, and to encounter something disturbing nature of that instance, it's heartbreaking.
Again, I mean, this will be a long and detailed investigation. Officers have been asking neighbors if they have any doorbell camera, if anyone saw anything or heard anything over this weekend. Now, again, police are telling us that right now it's unclear how long this woman's body has been in the woods. Now, because she was reported missing today, they say it's potentially her body could have been here for longer than 24 hours. And that is something, along with lots of other questions, that they will have to look at to determine, again, how this happened, how a woman's body ended up here off Wagner Lane on the southeast side of Indianapolis, guys.
According to court documents, after finishing work around 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, September 8th, Shanti ordered an Uber to take her home. However, she never arrived. Concerned detectives traced the Uber driver's information, leading them to a residence in the 4400 block of Aristocrat Circle near East 46th Street and North Midhofer Road. There they would locate 29-year-old Francisco Valadez. This crucial discovery marked a significant step in the ongoing investigation into Shanti's disappearance. According to court documents, Valdez initially told police that a man dressed in black attempted to rob Shanti before shooting her in the thigh, before admitting to shooting Shanti in the head while he was attempting to have sex with her in the back of his car. He then claimed that a comment Shanti made regarding the size of his manhood made him upset, and the fact that she was laughing at him, so he shot her in the head. He then dragged her body from the vehicle and placed it behind a concrete barrier at the dead end of Wagner Lane. He then committed the unthinkable, violating her deceased body before fleeing the scene, abandoning her bullet-ridden remains, leaving her family to discover her the very next day. Shanti's neighbor was deeply shocked to learn that she had died so close to home. The neighbor emphasized the strong sense of community in the area, where residents typically looked out for one another, making the tragic event even more unsettling.
Neighbors say Dixon lived less than 100 yards away from where her body was found, and that she just moved in about a week ago.
It affects us a lot because now it's like we don't know. You know what I'm saying? And most of the girls out here are single moms and stuff. There's not a man figure there. So, you know, and some of them come in late at night. You know, it's disturbing to know that it's not even safe to even come home anymore. It's kind of disturbing.
Officers immediately arrested Valadez on a preliminary charge of murder. Uber responded to 13 News' questions by confirming that Valadez had been banned from the platform. They also issued a statement saying the following: "We strive to build a platform where every experience is safe, comfortable, and positive, and what these riders experience is deeply unsettling. We make our non-discrimination policy clear to all users and take any report of this nature seriously. We're continuing to investigate this and will take appropriate action. Riders are encouraged to make sure they are getting into the right vehicle when using ride shares. They should also share their ride in the app they use to make sure their whereabouts are known. Most importantly, trust your instincts and get out of a situation if it feels unsafe." Shanti's family and loved ones are honoring her memory by sharing stories and cherished moments, helping to keep her spirit alive as they navigate the difficult process of mourning their loss. The randomness of the killing weighs heavily on their hearts, especially frustration over the senselessness over the tragedy. In their words, if it wasn't going to be her, it would have been someone else. Their focus now is on seeking justice, not only for Shanti, but for the family and most importantly, for her children.
The victim's family tells me they tracked her phone down to these woods where they found her body and called police. Less than 24 hours later, IMPD had the suspect in custody and are now preaching a message of prevention. Just after 1 o'clock Monday afternoon, in these woods on Indy's near southeast side, a woman who had been reported missing hours earlier was found naked with a shirt pulled over her head. Police believe 30-year-old Shanti Dixon had been sexually assaulted and shot to death.
This is just disgusting all around, and it did not have to happen.
Police claim a 29-year-old Uber driver, Francisco Valadez, picked up the victim from work early Sunday morning and drove Dixon to her home at this apartment complex just a few feet from the woods where she was murdered. According to this affidavit, Valadez gave conflicting stories, but eventually admitted to shooting the victim while trying to have sex with her. After dumping Dixon's body, the suspect confessed he tried to have sex with her again.
This is a family's worst nightmare. We're disgusted by these allegations.
Finally, formal charges by the prosecutor's office in this case are still pending. In the meantime, IMPD asks anyone who may have had a suspicious encounter with the suspect using rideshare in recent weeks to contact their department.
The Marion County Prosecutor's Office will make the final charging decision. Police are asking anyone who has encountered Valadez as a driver or knows more about what happened to Shanti to come forward to police. The case remains ongoing.
Friends and loved ones impacted by the horrific murder we are going to briefly discuss today. And just also, I think it's important to acknowledge the family, friends, and the victims of all of the murder victims in our city. They all deserve justice, and they all deserve their particular issue to be highlighted. So I want to recognize them today. The information we are about to share reflects what we believe to be an isolated incident. However, we have more work to do. We felt we needed to share with all of you, our community, and do all we can to spread a message of prevention, to never let something like this happen again here in our community. And as I mentioned at the beginning, talking about murders and violence, I want to just quickly say to our community that, remember, you have an obligation to help us in our fight against violent crime, and that when you see something, you have to let us know. You have to intervene when you know you can prevent violence. And we all have to learn to better deal with our emotions in a way that doesn't lead to picking up a weapon and taking a life. So specific to this incident, what I'm going to share with you now is preliminary. It's disturbing. It's not all the facts. But here's what we know so far. Yesterday, September 9th, a missing person report was filed with IMPD. Officers were told that a Shanti Dixon was missing since early Sunday morning. Detectives were told that she was picked up around 3:30 a.m. By a rideshare driver to be taken home. No one had talked to her since that time. Yesterday afternoon, at just before 1 p.m., IMPD Southeast District officers were dispatched to the 1800 block of Wagner Lane on the report of a deceased person found near a wooded area. Officers located an adult female there, later identified by the Marion County Coroner's Office as the missing woman, 30-year-old Shanti Dixon. Due to the unusual circumstances, homicide was notified and began their investigation. Along with the homicide investigators, the Marion County Forensic Services Agency and the Coroner's Office conducted their evidence, and detectives canvassed the area for witnesses and surveillance cameras. Quickly, a suspect or a person of interest was identified. Detectives were able to place that person into custody, and after an interview, they arrested 29-year-old Francisco Valadez, who was preliminarily charged with murder. One part I failed to mention, it was Ms. Dixon was found to have injury consistent with a gunshot wound. Preliminary information suggests that the suspect was a rideshare driver, and he had picked up Dixon just prior to her murder. One thing I want to ask the community now is that anyone in our community who may have had an encounter with this man, hopefully the media will share this picture, his booking photo with all of you, who may have had an encounter with this individual over the last several months as a rideshare driver or otherwise, or have information on this particular incident to come forward. You can call our homicide office at 317-327-3699.
3475 or Crime Stoppers at 262 tips. Obviously, this is a preliminary charge of murder. I anticipate additional facts being discovered and additional charges on this individual as we move forward. Those decisions will be made by the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. Like I said at the beginning, although I'm not getting into the individual facts, those facts will be known to everyone once the probable cause is available. This is disgusting. It's disturbing, and we, Ms. Dixon especially, her family, no one deserves to be treated this way in our community, and I am so sorry to her family that we're here today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Assistant Chief Cummings, who has some additional things to say today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So good afternoon. As a woman, this hits differently for me. Women, girls, mothers, they have a right to exist freely in our community without fear of something heinous happening to them. They have a right to walk, bike, order a ride share without fearing something bad will happen to them. This is a family's worst nightmare, and we extend our heartfelt condolences to her family during this trying time. We're disgusted by these allegations. This occurred in a residential neighborhood with children getting off the bus nearby. We commend the hard work of our detectives in this case, in which an arrest was made in just a very short time, a matter of hours. Excellent work by our police department. I also want the community to know that at this time, we believe this to be an isolated incident. Ride shares continue to be an excellent and a safe option to use when you're out in our community. Socializing, touring, they continue to be a safe and excellent option to use. We encourage anyone who's using a ride share to always check the make, the model, the name of the driver. Check those with your app. Make sure that it is the person that your app is indicating should be the person who is picking you up. There's an option in your app for you to share your ride with people who you know. They can track your ride as you go along. They can monitor the progress of your ride and see where you are within your ride. If something doesn't feel right to you during your ride, you can ask the person to pull over and you can get out. You can call 911. And last but not least, trust your instincts. If the driver pulls up and it doesn't feel right to you, don't get in. Trust yourself. I myself use ride shares and I follow these tips. Women, you have a right to exist in this community safely, and you have a right to use these ride shares safely. Trust yourself. Chief?
We'll take some questions. Just know that this is still an ongoing investigation, and I assume over the next 72 hours there'll be a full published probable cause affidavit that will give you more facts. We also want to be sensitive to the family here, that the details that we share are appropriate given the grief that they're feeling at this point in time.
Chief, how were you able to locate the suspect so quickly?
Well, I mean, obviously technology, when you use rideshare apps, there's certain information that's available on those particular apps that helped us lead us to an individual who we were able to interview fairly quickly, and based on those interviews, the detectives felt like they had enough information to make an arrest. So utilizing the technology that exists on your own phone and through these rideshare apps, as the Assistant Chief mentioned, that these apps have done a lot of work to try to make sure people are safe. And so adding on to what she said about using the apps there is also tell people where you're going, that you're in an app, when you're expected home. Those things are important too as you utilize these services.
Can you just talk a little bit more about just being able to feel safe in one of these rideshare apps here? How to get in, go to your destination safely without something like this potentially happening? Can you just elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, I know I use them. I use them all the time when I'm out of town. I've used them in our own city. I have never had an opportunity to feel unsafe in any of those opportunities. However, I know that's not everyone's experience. And so using those tips that you heard from the Assistant Chief are important. Some other ones that to think about is don't talk about your personal information on there. You're not required to have a conversation with the individual driver in there. So you can be polite and say, this is not information I want to share with you. I just want to get from A to B without having a conversation. We talked about sharing your location. Make sure you sit in the back seat. Make sure you wear your seatbelt. Track your route. Have your phone available that if it's necessary to call for help immediately, you can have that at your fingertips, on and ready to go if you feel like you need to do that. And like the chief said, is in the trip if you need to get it. If you don't feel comfortable, you don't like where this is headed, you don't like the conversation that's being had, tell them to pull over and then get out and call 911 if you're not safe in that area, and we'll come out and assist you.
Two quick questions. How was the victim found, and do we know what motivated this?
So I'm not exactly sure how the victim was found, but someone in the community found the body and called 911, and that's how we found her there. The motive, I don't want to speak outside the probable cause affidavit. I want to make sure that the information that the detectives submit to the prosecutor's office are the facts, true and accurate. I know that I've been given a briefing on it. I can't really tell you what the motive is, but what I will say is it's unnecessary. I mean, there's very few times in the world where taking someone's life is necessary, but this is just disgusting all around, and it did not have to happen. This is a family that's been ripped apart. This woman is gone from the world unnecessarily by an evil act, and I'm glad we were able to find this individual as quickly as we did, so that he didn't have an opportunity to perpetuate violence further in our community.
Can you talk about
Last question, guys.
Can you talk about how frustrating this is to see members in our community do this to someone else?
Yeah, I think I've said it, mentioned at the beginning. I've said it many times before. We have to be better to each other. Murder is one of the hardest things for a police department to prevent. A lot of the time, it happens in the heat of the moment and situations that are occurring at that time. A lot of emotions related to it, a lot of conflictual issues to it, and it's frustrating for us. It's frustrating for the community. But our officers and detectives are going to keep working out, going out every day and working and doing our best and doing our part. That's why I mentioned at the beginning we need the community to come alongside of us and do their part. I know, yes, yeah.
Thank you so much. Is there any way you can identify for us which rideshare program it was and how long this man's been working there?
I don't know how long he's been working there. I think when the probable cause affidavit comes out, that information will be spelled out within that affidavit.